everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the Writer's Room, where we do reviews, reactions, and recaps of different episodes of TV shows, films, and whatever else touches the surface of pure art. This episode, or today, we are going to be discussing the final episode of Raising Kanan, Power Book 3, and this episode was nothing short of explosive. I need to talk to my doctor or nurse, someone to come see about me, because my anxiety peaked at an all-time high dealing with this episode. Now, before I discuss what made this episode so explosive and what piqued my anxiety, let's start off from the very beginning. The genesis of this episode is Sam and some other guy that is smoking up stuff. Now, we know from the last episode, Marvin was actually instructed to take out Sam in order to protect Detective Howard, because we know Burke has been running around these streets trying to get answers. Now, Marvin has been trying to deal with his demons, his inner demons, and especially after the passing of Renee, which I wish they would have touched on more, but we can see how this is playing onto Marvin's head. He is trying to be the best out here, and Sam completely took advantage of that, because instead of taking the money and getting on the bus and leaving the city, my man Sam came back in order to spend up all of that money on some new crack. My man is completely gone, and he wanted more crack. Now, when Marvin comes in and sees Sam, he immediately go ahead and take out homeboy. Now, at that moment, Sam should have known, I am going to be taken out. And because he did know that, he just told Marvin, look, let me just get one last smoke. And this part was definitely reminiscent of David Ruffin on The Temptations when he was trying to sell his ticket for the concert or whatever to get more crack. And the drug dealer had to tell him, bruh, this concert has already passed. That's what this was giving and what Sam was trying to tell Marvin. The bus has already left Sam. And because of that, Marvin had to do what he had to do. Now, Sam tried to come with some sob story, and it's all over the internet. There are different fan theories saying that Sam was a liar. He was a compulsive liar because he is a crackhead. My man is completely doped up, and he's just saying things in order to try to persuade Marvin not to take him out. I believed him in this moment, but maybe I'm just gullible. But nonetheless, Marvin does end up taking out Sam. We get into the next scene where Unique pays a visit to Miss Raquel, and she is at the infamous cafe that they always meet up at with her crew. And we see that Unique is basically saying his last goodbyes to Rock. Now, he's saying, hey, Rock, like, you know, we both put up a good fight, but I'm on to greater pastures. Now, Rock is still on this, I'm gonna be worldwide, baby. I mean, she is still on this dream. I think I've heard worldwide way too many times in this season, and it seems as though Rock loses every episode. But we see that Unique tries to make like a flirty pass at her, and you can tell that Rock was really entertaining Unique in this moment, and I really did enjoy this particular scene because it does show the uniqueness, no pun intended, of their relationship and the dynamics that work within that relationship, and why Rock may have kept him alive, which could save her later on in the episode. We'll get into that. Next, we transition briefly over to Kanan and Famous, and Famous is basically telling Kanan that, hey, if you are going to be staying here, I'm going to need you to pitch in on rent, because I was barely able to make rent last time and pay the bills. And Kanan basically tells him that, hey, don't worry about it, I got you, we're going to get some more work. Famous lets him know that, look, that little measly, 20 or whatever you had given us last time, it's only going to last us so long. Kanan does let him know that you ain't got to worry about nothing. F my mom, like, I am going to get the work for us. Now, I do wonder when Famous is going to let him know that he went back to homeboy's house, robbed him, and killed him. So we do know that that is going to be a lingering story arc for Famous in the next season. Next, we transition over to Lou, and we see that he's going through mail and he sees his bank statement. I knew that this would come back up later on in the episode, and we didn't know what it meant, but we seen that they definitely let us know that this bank statement meant something to Lou. There was a lot of money in his bank account. And Zisa comes in and she's like, I got some beats. Like, I made a beat of my own. You're not the only person that is an artist, Lou. Like, we know that Zisa is about her music. At the end of the day, she doesn't care what happened. But she did make it known that, yeah, I was out for a couple weeks because my parents believed what happened to Cartier was something to do with the music business. And I'm just letting them know that Cartier was doing shady business and had bad dealings with a bunch of people. And not knowing that Lou wanted him gone. And Lou actually took him out. Now, I do believe that if Lou would have just let Zisa know what had happened with him and Cartier and that he was actually the one who took out Cartier, I believe that Zisa's fate would have been changed because she probably would have been moving a little bit differently and not going to the studio as much. I mean, clearly he's a hothead and he's going to attract a lot of violence going into this music business that she's trying to break into. Next, we transition over to Jukebox. This is the Jukebox behavior that we have become accustomed to in the original Power and in the Power universe. We know that Jukebox is cold-hearted. I mean, she's cold, and we see why. I mean, when she goes to confront this man, she confronted him about what he did and if he was a part of the setup with the pastor and her mom, Kenya. Now he does end up going off on her for some odd reason. I mean, well, she did start by punching him, but we see that he's really like egging it on and telling her that, yes, I was a part of it and I told your mom that you were a dyke. You were somebody that did not want to be with a man. And that is what happened. Now Jukebox just let him have it, and that's just going to be the end of that scene. But she does end up getting taken away and arrested. So we know that Detective Burke is going to have to come in and help Juke once again. Now, speaking of Detective Burke, she goes into a known crack house looking for Sam. She knows something is wrong. She goes flexing, trying to see where Sam is because she wants to know who shot Detective Howard and what that has to do. I mean, of course she knows that Kanan was the one who did it, but she wants to know the relationship, so she needs Sam right now in order to take out Kanan Stark. Now, she does have a couple of pushbacks from different people within the trap house, and it was just like, girl, we're not telling you where to find this crack house. Now, of course, she'll end up finding Sam later, but she has pushback in the beginning. Now we get into Sal. You know, the Italians, they are on the wrong side of the river. They have come to Rock's territory. Now in this, I knew something was up, and this is a man that is clearly Sal's boss, and we know that Rock was trying to get at this man earlier, and so yeah, Sal obviously answers to someone because he got sunned in this scene. He basically goes to this guy who's over him and tells him, hey, you know, I'm going to be coming in your neighborhood, your neck of the woods, and it's going to get loud. It may get messy. Basically, homeboy is like, don't bring that shit over here. Don't do any of that. We bring our garbage. We bring our trash to your side of town. You go back to New Jersey and don't come back. Now, it started off as such a lovely conversation. I thought they were almost family, to be honest, but you can see that Sal has people that he has to answer to as well. So we know that what Sal ends up doing later on in the episode will come back to bite him in the ass in next season. Now we briefly go back to Kanan, and you know that at the beginning of the episode, he told Famous he was going to get that work. And I mean, he takes a lot of packages. I'm going to call them packages. He takes a lot from the stash house, the trap house, and Marvin sees this, and Marvin is completely appalled. Like, what are you doing, sir? And Kanan goes off on Marvin and is like, I take what I want. This is my spot. You know, that was my famous New York accent. It was horrible, but whatever. Marvin tells him, I'm going to have to let your mom know what you got going. Kanan does not care. This is the beginning of the cracks within the family dynamic, or shall I say, this is kind of the climax of the cracks of the family dynamic. Nonetheless, Kanan is still Rock's problem and Rock's son, so she's gonna have to just deal with him. Now, Marvin does end up letting him go along with the products, so we'll see how that unfolds in the next season, because it didn't really touch on that in this episode, because we all know it started to go down in this episode. Now we transition over briefly to the elderly man that actually was the one who opened up the door, who cracked open the door when Famous ended up taking out the guy that robbed Kanan in a few episodes back. Now a detective is just asking him all of these questions, and the elderly man is really scared. You can tell that he wants to do right by that young man, but he knows what his environment will do to someone like him, that ends up snitching, quote and unquote snitching, on someone within the game. It's just how the streets work. Those are the policies and rules of the streets. Now, of course, he is not the person in it, so he does have free range in telling the police what he's seen and what he witnessed. But we will have to see how Famous is going to deal with that situation in season 3. Now we transition over to Rock, Lou, and Marvin, and they are having a meeting and a conversation about what's going on with the Italians. And basically, Rock is letting them know that Unique met up with her and she just wanted to see if he was all good and if he was going to be working with the Italians. And we all know that Unique is 10 toes down. He has been the most consistent character in this series from the very beginning. So Rock just lets them know this ain't nothing. This is nothing but a bump in the road. We are still going to be worldwide. We're still going to do our thing, but we need to be ready. So let's go ahead and throw the first punch tonight before the Italians even have a chance to strike at us. Now you can tell that Marvin and Lou are not with this. They are having doubts about everything, but Marvin knows that family is all he has right now, and Lou just tired, okay? So we know that what happens later on in this episode is going to bring the family together, because as of right now, none of them actually want to go through with what Rock has going on. But skipping along, we do see that Detective Howard and Detective Burke end up finding Sam and his friend unalived inside of that crack house. Now, Detective Howard, he is like, oh my God, thank goodness that Sam was taken out. And he's trying to play this game with Detective Burke and is like, look, you didn't need Sam as a witness anyways to my shooting because you're not even supposed to be working on this shooting. But even outside of that, Sam has already given his statement and it was dead wrong. He's a crackhead. These things happen. And of course, Detective Burke is like, no, he was a prime witness in your shooting and he was actually going to testify. I was going to get him. Now, she does know that, okay, this looks like an execution. But Detective Howard turns on his best gaslighting face and he gaslights Detective Burke, and she is starting to believe and being convinced that Sam may have been in over his head on if his memory was jilted or not by bumping into Kanan. But this does give her a boost of desperosity. She goes ahead and starts to try to find Kanan. Now we do return back to Marvin, Lou, and Rock. Rock is making sure her people are being taken care of outside of the house. And Marvin and Lou are getting ready to do the plan that Rock has set in place for Sal and the rest of the Italian mob. Now, Marvin does peep that Lou is not really here for any of this. He has a little bit of animosity and he's discontent with his position. Rock notices it and tells Marvin he used to be so dependable. Marvin is like, yeah, well, he defends Lou in this moment and lets Rock know that you got other things to worry about. I told Kanan before he stole all your product, I told him about you and he wasn't scared at all. So once again, Rock is thrown off guard by Kanan's antics and his tantrums. Now we see that we go back to Jukebox and she is in jail. Remember, she just beat up homeboy and she is let out by a DAT. I'm not sure what that acronym means, but if you guys know it, put it in the comments down below. But we know that Detective Burke was the one that was behind Jukebox getting let out of jail. I do love this scene because you can see the relationship forming from season 1 with Detective Burke and Jukebox, but you can tell that Jukebox, although she has already crossed over to the other side, she still cares about Detective Burke. And when Burke comes to her and says, hey, I need more info from you. I need intel. What is it about your cousin and Detective Howard? Is he his dad? And of course, in true Jukebox fashion, she says, no, DEFCON is his dad. But she does know that Detective Burke has come through more than once, more than twice for Jukebox. And of course, she does care about Burke. So instead of, ratting out her own family members on their matters, she kind of keeps the, hinting to a minimum and just lets Detective Burke know you need to watch your back at this precinct because your own people are after you. If you look close enough, you'll find out who is targeting you. You are about to be laid out on the streets next. Now you can look at Detective Burke's face and she knows, she has a pretty clear idea of what is happening and who is after her. But she is completely scared. You can see the fear on Detective Burke's face because she does believe Juke. Juke has never really lied to her. She may have omitted the truth, but she's never lied to her when it boils down to it. Now, moving along, we transition over to Marvin and Lou, and they are putting on their ski masks. You can tell they're getting ready to exercise their right, okay? Their American right. Nah, that's just me joshing you guys. But still, you can tell that something is about to go down, and you see all of the Italians outside of Sal's place up in New Jersey. And of course, Marvin and Lou hit up that spot, and they are in uniform. There are 3 cars. They pull up and they take the straps out and completely lay like 3 people down, and Sal comes out ready to shoot. Sal, you are late. What are you doing? But you can tell that Sal is afraid as well, and although he is going to piss off his boss when this comes around on next season, he has to do what he has to do to protect his own people. Otherwise, New Jersey is going to be ran through the mud with the blood of his own people. So moving on, we go to Famous and Kanan, and they are doing what they do worse. They suck at this job. Kanan is trying to push this dope, and of course, he brought along Famous with him, so that they can help pay for things. And so Kanan is making all of the rules right now. He is being what he thinks is that boss man, and Fame is like, yo, like, your mom didn't want anybody on the streets. Kanan is like, I don't give a damn, like what my mama says. So of course, this is gonna bite him in the ass later on in the episode. Now, when we go over to Lou, we see that he's at that Carver Bank. We know that that was on that letter that he found, or that he was going through at the studio. And Lou's whole issue is there is too much money in this bank account. I need to know what transaction has happened in the past couple of weeks that has caused all of this money to drop in my account. I'm thankful, but look at Lou. I mean, he's over it. He knows that there's something else brewing, and he wants to know what happened. Now, when the accountant shows him the paperwork of what happened, he tells him that Crown actually sold his stake of the company. He sold 15% of his stake over to an investor. Now, Lou already has an idea of, okay, I'm about to get effed over. Let me see by who. Now, when he flips through those papers and he realizes that it is Raquel Thomas, Lou is over it. Lou is officially clocked out of the Thomas household, the Stark household. He is clocked out. Now, the accountant does take notice of Lou and his facial expression, and also realizes that you guys have the same name. Any relation? That part was funny as hell to me. But yeah, so Lou is completely over it when he finds out that Raquel is the investor on taking over Crown's part of the company. So Lou is very, very unhappy. Now, getting into Rock and Marvin, they're going over to meet with, Cartier's henchman at first. And I mean, he has this smuck attitude. He's, big dog, as if he wasn't just getting slapped around by Cartier. But when Rock tells him, hey, I took care of Cartier, I'm ready to do some business, you let me know what kind of package you need, and I'm ready to give it to you by the end of the week. Now, Marvin peeps the facial expression, and he's like, wow, you don't need us anymore because you went around us and you got to the plug himself. With this being the case, that means that Raquel and her business is no longer going worldwide, or at least it's no longer going in Jamaica, Queens, okay, because somebody else is now running that territory because she doesn't have a plug anymore. So she is hot, bubbling underneath the surface. She went through a lot to make this happen because she needs more people. In order to go worldwide, she does need more people to work under her. And she sees that she's been screwed over this time the way that she screwed over Cartier. Now, he does try to pay her. It looks like a small ass stack. I am not gonna lie, you guys. He maybe paid her $10,000, but that was not enough. Raquel is hot, and she's basically, we know that he is going to be on the radar for season 3. Now, when we transition over to Jukebox, we know that Jukebox just had a private conversation with Detective Burke. And I told you that she has a relationship with Detective Burke. Although she is mean and a little bit closed off towards cops and everyone else, she does seem to have a soft spot for Detective Burke. So when she is talking to Nicole's father at this restaurant, she has to go ahead and break down her entire character, or shall I say break down her wall that she's been putting up in front of Nicole's father, as if she knows nothing about what happened to Nicole. And when he pressures her to, come up front and tell the truth about Detective Burke supplying drugs to her, she has to let him know there were no drugs supplied to me by Detective Burke. She has done nothing to us. Nicole found those drugs in my backpack, and unfortunately that is what happened. So I am interested to see what is going to happen with Jukebox's character and Nicole's father next season, because he has been very patient with her, and he's kind of leaned on Jukebox because he knows of the love that she and Nicole shared together, and he believed that if, I guess misery loves company, but also he didn't believe that Jukebox had anything to do with Nicole's death. So I think her dad is going to do a complete 180 on his character and how he feels towards Jukebox. I think he's going to treat her exactly how Nicole's mother treats Jukebox. He may be a little less racist, but I think he's definitely going to be more up and armed and be out to seek justice for Nicole, as if I don't know if Nicole didn't steal those drugs, but either way it goes, Jukebox was responsible for that, or shall I say Kanan was responsible for the blue caps. But write in the comments down below, what do you think is going to happen with Jukebox and Nicole's father? Do you think that he's going to keep giving her chances to redeem herself, or give Detective Burke a chance? Or do you think he's going to go full on with trying to get
Next,
Jukebox
we go back
arrested
to Kanan
for
and
Nicole's
Famous,
death? And we knew that this was going to come back to haunt Kanan. Kanan really thought that he was being a big boss out here on these streets, and there was a reason Raquel didn't want anybody moving dope on the streets, and it was because the block is hot, and Kanan ended up getting got by Detective Burke. Now, Detective Burke is doing some illegal things to try to find out information, because she didn't exactly find anything on Kanan. I would say that was a very smart thing for Kanan to do, was to have Famous have all of the products and Kanan just make the exchanges. Now, when Kanan goes and talks to Detective Burke, because she just takes him off somewhere and illegally probes or questions him, and Kanan ends up pushing her down to the ground and taking off running. He wasn't giving her no information. In his head, Detective Burke had figured it all out as far as Detective Howard being his father, but he was not here for Burke saying that Raquel was a criminal informant. Now that took him out, because one thing you don't do in these streets, and this is something that Kanan has found out time and time again, is snitch when you are too a part and involved of the criminal activities. So he's taken aback, and that's when he pushes Detective Burke. So he does take off running and going to Detective Howard's house later on in the episode. Now, going back to Raquel and Marvin, they storm into the restaurant where they always meet up with Joaquin, and who do we see here? We see Juliana. Juliana is there with her best wig on, and she's doing the most right now. I don't know, when did Juliana go from a battered woman to a bad bitch? Can someone explain that to me in the comments? But she still holds a grudge over Raquel keeping Unique alive after he kidnapped Juliana. Now, I was too on Juliana's side, because I'm like, Raquel, take Unique out. Like, he has made a fool out of you and forced your hand into including him on your business. Now, that was all a part of Unique's business in order for him to get back on top. Joaquin just says that he trusts Juliana, because at the end of the day, Juliana has brought him all of these connects to bring to him so that he can, supply and distribute all of these drugs. So he just leaves it up to Juliana. Wrong thing. But I was so glad that he stayed on code. Obviously, I hate Juliana. But I was at least happy that Joaquin stayed on code and did not reprimand her in front of mixed company. Now, he did tell Juliana that Raquel is very dangerous. Juliana tries to bite back and say, well, I am too. We all know that Juliana is not dangerous, and it's not gonna look good for my girl Juliana in season 3. Now, you guys, this is when I got the impression that the writers were trying to make a fool out of me, okay? Because Marvin gets home late after a long day of being told that pretty much the business that him and his family has been working for this entire time has been squandered down the toilet. And he comes in and he hears noises coming from Juke's room. He thinks someone is breaking in, and it is Jukebox coming to move back in. I really, really, really love that they have engaged more and they're starting to get back on track, because he has been trying to make up for it and redeem himself this entire season. Thankfully to Renee, that she really helped reprogram Marvin's mindset when it comes to a lot of things. And at the end of the day, family is everything for Marvin. But the writers really had me believing that Marvin, this is his last conversation. I mean, was it not coming that way? Write in the comments down below. This was a very predictable moment. They do it in a lot of shows where they build a character up, and especially they give an episode pretty much to that character, because that character is about to go, they about to get sent to the upper room. So when Marvin asked Jukebox if, she wanted to go out to Lamont's afterwards, and it just seemed so happy. I knew something was going to happen and that they were not going to make it to Lamont after the business he had to take care of later on. So I was really happy once we get down and dirty to the exciting part about this episode, that the writers decided to take a different turn with Marvin's character and how he came out of the turmoil that ended up happening. Now, when we go back to Rock, we see that she is at the new house, and I mean, she's pissed, as she should be, because you just bought this brand new beautiful big house, and you see she has a home sweet home from the real estate agent. And we see big Lulu comes in, and he's like, I just came back from the bank, right? I mean, what was that supposed to mean to Rock? She didn't care before when she was doing the investment, and Rock lets him have it. But you know what? I believe that Lou was more so already on edge as soon as Rock said that she took care of Scrap and he was the wrong CI, that he never sold out the company, or he never sold out the organization. And that really, really hurt Lou, because he didn't want to kill Scrap to begin with. He knew that Scrap was a loyal soldier. And for Rock to just say that out loud, it really you can see what it did to Lou in the inside. And then when she hit that "I own you," y'all, my heart sank for Lou at that moment. So Lou has officially went to the other side. He is about to hop out of town. Now, while everything is about to hit the fan with everyone, we have Kanan going to visit Detective Howard, because of course he just pushed down a cop. He's about to get arrested. There's about to be a warrant out for his arrest. And we see that Detective Howard is like, we got to get our story straight. Burke knows everything, so we have to get our story straight. Let's figure out what we're going to do. Now, speaking of Burke, we do go back to see her, and she's out on lunch with her boo thing, and she is like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if Burke is going to continue this investigation, because she is actually afraid of what Detective Howard might do to her because of this whole thing. She knows that Detective Howard is behind Sam's death or has something to do with it. She knows something is up, and her boo is like, look, you got to do what you got to do in order to protect yourself, and figuring out what she wants to do as far as the intel goes, if she's going to stay with that precinct, if she's going to continue her investigation of Detective Howard in this shooting. And of course, we have Ziza. She is at the studio. She's trying to get into the booth. She is passionate and she has a lot of love for Lou, but she also, she wants to get back to the music. And Lou basically tells her, I'm done. Forget about everything. Forget about the dreams that I done sold you. I am leaving because of my sister. I am done with Bulletproof Records as of right now. And in the middle of that, what ends up happening? The Italians come out to play. Now, I knew something was going to be up, because anytime they play music on this show, something is going down. Somebody is going to the upper room. Someone is getting sprayed. Anytime. I mean, remember when they played the Whitney Houston joint on season 1, episode 2, when they took out Kanan's best friend? I mean, and it's always bops. It's always a bop too. So I knew as soon as Sal started smoking and enjoying his best life listening to that song, I knew it was up from there for Sal. So people came into the studio and sprayed, and unfortunately Ziza did not get down quick enough and she was taken out. And then we go to see Unique. We know that Unique and Worrell was having a conversation about moving somewhere else and starting a new business outside of crack. Crack is no longer in, and I love this because it does transition. The original Power, by that time, they are selling coke. So we know that cocaine, pure pure cocaine is going to be in, and Unique goes ahead and lets us know that season 3 may be about cocaine and not crack this time. Now, we see that Worrell finally meets his maker. Worrell is knocked out, and Worrell did a really good job with being a loyal soldier to Unique throughout this season and last season. So, rest in peace, Worrell, man. I wasn't the biggest fan of you, but rest in peace to you, soldier. So we see that Unique does end up handling himself, and he knocks out the rest of the men of the Italian mob. Now, going over to Marvin and his crew over there at the trap house, we see that Marvin is, of course, attacked as well. We know that the Italian mob, that is what Lou was trying to tell Raquel at the beginning of the season, that when the Italian mob, you got beef with them, they come in droves and they attack from all ends. And Marvin's crew got attacked, and I really loved how Marvin made sure, he was really a good boss, because he made sure everybody got out first. Now, I did find it a little bit, put in the comments down below if you found it shady that he went downstairs, and we know that that is also Rock's unit as well, to that apartment 707. And they didn't answer the door. That was really effed up. So I don't know if anybody was in there or not, but he definitely made sure to get his people out, and that was what's up. And he had great karma. He's been doing good this entire season with taking care of people. So the story writers definitely did an amazing job with playing this trick on me, with making me think that Marvin was at his last end. He had nowhere else to go after he was shot. And we see the guy in the wheelchair from the beginning of this season, who Marvin actually, helped out with getting on the elevator and getting to his house, getting to his home and just making life easier for him. And that turned out great for Marvin, because homeboy came out like, hey, come on, I got you. And he ended up getting saved. Thank God. Marvin was my character, my favorite guy. So I definitely didn't want to see him go this season. Now, one person that I did want to go see, her maker, was Laverne's mom, Kenya. Kenya decided that, 9 o'clock at night, Raquel's home in the South Side, Jamaica, Queens, was the perfect area for her to talk to Rock about jukebox and, being a mother to mother and all that good stuff. And she, unfortunately for her, met her match with those Italians. They were already there, because Rock was like, how'd you get up here to my door? My security wouldn't have let you up. And Rock realizes that her security is taken out. And who does she see? She sees the Italians coming out of the woodworks, and they start spraying. And unfortunately, Kenya is caught in the crossfires. Now, when this happens, Rock realizes that she has nowhere else to turn to. It's too much. I'm glad she did not go upstairs. I hate when people go upstairs. You're further going into your fate of death, okay? So I was happy that Rock just went ahead and confronted the situation face first, and she just went ahead and took out her gun and was ready. And she did end up clipping one of the Italians, but unfortunately there was another one right behind him, and he ended up shooting Raquel in the arm. This scared the heck out of me. I do know that this is Power, and the original Power only had 6 seasons, so main people were getting taken out like every season. Now, I definitely did not expect them to take out Raquel, because she is the ghost of this particular Power franchise. So I knew that Rock had to make it out at some point, and I was so happy to see that Unique was there, and he was like, South Side. Now you can see the tension. I don't know if it was a sexual tension or if it was just more so like a comrade tension between them two, but we know that they are definitely going to be working together in order to go up against Sal in the next season. And of course, when she comes out along with Unique, they end up seeing Kanan and Detective Howard together. Now, that's an odd pairing that Raquel was probably not intending on seeing for this episode, but she ended up seeing it, and I'm guaranteeing you that Kanan was not expecting to see his whole house being shot up. You have a dead woman on the stairs, your mom has been shot, and she's with Unique of all people. And everybody has things that they got to get off their chest. Detective Howard and Kanan has to come up with a story, and they know they have to do that with Raquel. And Raquel obviously has just been shot. It's been a lot that went on in this episode. This was an explosive episode, you guys, and I was so ecstatic. I even watched this like 3 times. And normally I watch it twice for the podcast, but I watched this 3 times, and I went through and watched like some of the scenes again, like the I Own You scene. I watched that scene again. I watched the scene again between Marvin and Juke. It was just a lot of beautiful dialogue, a lot of powerful performances by the actors and actresses in this show. This was crazy. This was the best finale episode that I have seen on a TV show, definitely in the past couple of years, but definitely in the Power universe. So write in the comments down below, what do you think is going to happen in season 3? Do you believe that Rock and Unique are going to team up? And do you think that they are going to have success with going up against Sal? And do you think that Sal is actually going to be taken out by his boss? So much was revealed in this episode, and so much transpired in this episode that I'm not sure what season 3 is going to bring, but I know that we are going to have our mains really stepping up their game. And of course, they're going to be switching over to, or making that switch over to, cocaine, because it's the late 90s, or it's getting to the mid and late 90s, and crack is no longer wanted or desired on the streets. So write in the comments what you think of this episode. It was fun. It was explosive. And it almost gave me an anxiety attack. And I'm going to send in the bill and the invoice for that. But talk to me in the comments, you guys. And I'll see you next time on The Writer's Room.